Hello, Scott Brinkley here. Welcome to the Nexstar sales plan. This is the tool that is going to be used to drive your business. Talking about the heating and air conditioning sales side, the AOR or the HVAC install sales side. So if you look, we're going to walk through the setup. So there is a setup tutorial. You click it and it walks you through the setup. But I'm going to go ahead and walk you through it here. And then I'm going to show you how to use this tool to drive your business. So let's go ahead and set it up. As you see, when I scroll over this, it tells me here, enter in the month, the day, and the year. So let's go ahead and enter in 6/1/17. And so by doing this, 6/1/17, all right, it sets up and it starts calculating things through all these other tabs. So let's go ahead and enter the company. We're going to say this is Nexstar Air. Okay, budgeted work days. Now when you go to your business planning workshop, you'll actually come out with how many budgeted work days you're going to have for the month. So even though we might have a 31 calendar day, we might only budget to work 22 of those days. So we're going to enter in 22 here. Okay, now next we have, look, enter in the amount of service calls you're budgeted for the month. Again, you'll get this from your business planning workshop. In this example, we're going to say 600. Now this is new to a lot of members. So it says enter in the budgeted percentage of calls on the 3-day minimum call board that are opportunities, turnover opportunities. So let me show you what that looks like. So on your 3-day minimum call board, you should have your 3 calls up. You should have your technicians. And if we want to run 3 calls per technician, that would be 33 calls. So again, we want to book out 100% of tomorrow before we leave today. We want to book out 50% of the next day before we leave today. And we want to book out 25% of the 3rd day before we leave work today. So what happens when you do this way, you'll never come into a day where you just don't have calls. You'll obviously be prepared. Now the only time this number should really change is when your demand comes in. So like spring and the fall, you want to put your capacity here, whatever you're supposed to book out. So if it's 33, put 33. But if it's in the middle of summer and you've got 2 or 3 days of hot weather, and let's say you're averaging bringing in 20 new demand calls a day, well, so you'd run a report, call center manager would run a report on yesterday and say, all right, well, I had 20 demand calls come in yesterday, I had 20 the day before, so if the weather remains the same for tomorrow, which it's going to, then we're probably going to have 20 coming tomorrow. So they would only put 13 here, and that would leave room for the demand. Okay, but now, so if we have 33, let's say our actual is 15 that we've truly booked at this point, so we need 18 more. But then this is the key. This is the portion that's new, and this is actually the most important number in your call center, is to make sure that we are driving the repair business. So in your area, in your city, in your town, there is a percentage of every house, a percentage of all houses has old equipment. And so an old equipment is deemed by age. So most of the time, if they're a heat pump market, they're deeming it by 8 years. If it's a gas market, they're deeming it by 10 years. And if it's a heat pump / gas market, they're just going with 8. So for example, in your market, if we called 100 people and we polled them and questioned them, how old is your equipment at your house? There's going to be a certain percentage of those that is going to be aged. And in this example, it's 33%. And you're going to see that's pretty close to true to most areas. There are some areas that are 22, 25, but then there's some areas as high as 43%. Now this number will go up in the middle of summer. So if this number is 33% in the spring and the fall and all other months, well, the middle of summer it will go up, and it will go up as high as 15 more percent. And so what that means is just older equipment breaks. So again, so if I walked into my call center and this number said 22 here, that instantly tells me my call center is not asking the right question and identifying the older equipment. And if we don't identify it, well then we're going to end up dispatching it to the wrong people, and it will cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this is a true indicator. If it says 33%, then we know we're doing a good job of asking the right questions in the call center. So this is what I mean when, if you scroll back over here, when it says enter the budgeted number, we're going to enter 33 here. Now you want to enter in whatever your average is after you've got that average and after you've audited them and you validate that that's the true average. So what this does is when I enter 33 here, it then populates all this entire program about how many turnovers we should be receiving from these 600 calls. Now, the next piece is the marketed leads. So if you know your history, just scroll over this box, you can read it, but if you know your history, you'll enter in here. Say if I normally get 25 leads, just enter it in there and it will populate, well, you need 25 leads. Now if you don't know your history of marketed leads, just enter in your service population and then enter in your budgeted monthly spend as a percentage, and it will calculate on how many leads you should drive off of that piece of your business. All right, the next bucket, so we're going to track the comfort advisors in 4 buckets. One of them is marketed leads, which we just entered here. One of them is turnovers. One of them is self-generated. So if you're understaffed, you will never get a self-generated lead just because they don't have to do it. You're hand feeding them, so therefore why would they go out and generate more business when they got more than they can run as it is? And then the last bucket is your other lead bucket. This will be your home shows, your trade shows, your kiosk, your Costco, that type of stuff. So for example, if you're going to staff home shows for 200 hours, you just enter in 200 hours here and it will calculate how many leads you should get off of that. Now in this example, we're going to say we don't do any home shows, so I'm going to just enter in a 0 there. I'm going to come over here and enter in, if you know your marketed average lead ticket, like what is your average invoice, enter it in here. If you do not know, because a lot of companies don't break it down yet, but once you do this, once 1 month, you'll know what it is. Well, let's just say you don't know. Let's just say your overall average ticket's $7 grand. So we're going to go ahead and enter in $7 grand for marketed, $7 grand for turnovers. We're not going to enter in any self-generated because we're going to say that, well, let's do that. Let's go ahead and enter in 7,000 for self-generated. And we're not going to enter in another lead bucket because, again, this company doesn't do home shows, trade shows, that type of stuff. So I'm going to scroll down a little more. This is where you enter in your comfort advisors. So I'm going to enter in some names here. Let's give one a name, Frank, Henry, Paul, and let's give it John. So when you enter in the people's names, you have the opportunity here, if you scroll over this, to enter in a C or a T. Okay, now in this company, we're going to say they're all comfort advisors, so I'm going to enter in all C's. But what this does, if you enter in a selling tech, a T, it then calculates based off of what his closure rate should be versus a close rate for a comfort advisor. Because believe it or not, they do close at different rates. They close at different average tickets. So what this is doing is telling you the revenue you should expect to do based off of your people, based off of these calls, based off of 33% on your board, based off of your marketing spend, and then your average ticket. So if you enter, again, if I enter a C, it's now going to say this guy's a comfort advisor, and it's going to populate how much revenue we would expect for comfort advisors. And, do we even need 4 at this size business? It will let me know here in a second. So I'm going to scroll over day. Look, it says enter in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It needs to be spelled exactly like the day is spelled. Don't abbreviate or it will not populate properly. It does not have to be capitalized. Just enter it in. So the first day, let's see, we're doing June. So the first day of June, let's see, falls on a Thursday. So I'm going to go type in Thursday. Once you type in one name, you can actually just scroll over, go to the bottom corner, you'll watch the crosshairs change. As soon as they change to that, hold your left mouse in and just drag them down. You'll be able to drag it all the way down to the bottom and it will populate it correctly. So I'm going to go over to the date. So the first day of the month, you scroll over, look, it says enter in month and date, right? Or month and day. So I'm going to go, all right, 6/1. 1 June. I'm going to Scroll over, go to the corner again to the crosshairs change. I'm going to drag and go all the way down. If you notice when I get to the bottom, it says July 1st. Well, obviously there's only 30 days in June, so I'm going to delete July 1st and take that out of the equation. We're not going to use that last box. Now, if you see this column, it says holiday not used. So if a holiday falls on that day, or you are not using that day or that box, you need to put an X in it. For example, we are not using this last one, so I'm going to put an X here, and this will remove this from the program. If it was, let's say there was a holiday here, June 7th, I would use it. It would now remove this as a budgeted day. Okay, but we're going to obviously keep that in. Weekends are automatically removed as budgeted days. Most companies don't budget weekends. Any work they do is considered an extra. If you budget weekends, then you'll need to go in here and overwrite how much of a weekend you've budgeted. So to give you an example, if you have 12 technicians and you're working 3, well then you're going to budget 25% of your techs to work that Saturday. And then you would enter that on every Saturday and it changes the program. Now in this example, we are not going to do that. We're just going to leave it no budgeted days. So for this company, we have completely set it up. So let me go ahead and scroll to the far right. I'm going to go to June 30th, and it will tell you how much revenue that we would expect to do in this size company. So if you see here, we would expect to run 600 service calls. The total revenue would be $749,000. This is $34,000 a day. Okay, this is the total we're planning on doing. Look at the breakdown. The breakdown here is we're expecting to run 119 turnovers, closing 66% at $7,000. That's what you entered in. 78 sales, that's $548,000. This shows you your variance. We obviously haven't made any sales yet, so we're 78 sales shy. Well, this says we're going to run 60 marketed leads based on our service population and the spend we entered in. This says we should run 18 self-generated leads. Okay, close 9 of them for $61,000. Now, this tells you what you're going to do for the entire month. If you notice, there's a box here that says yesterday. As you start entering data on day 1, 2, 3, and 4, this is your daily snapshot of how you've done, which I will go over that in just a moment. This gives your variances between the two. But watch what happens. This is a 100% Comfort Advisor company. So let's go back and now say, well, you know what, in reality, we only got 1 Comfort Advisor. We have 3 selling techs. So I enter the selling techs now. Let's scroll back to day 30. And you see our revenue dropped. We dropped about $7,000 a day by switching to 3 selling techs from 3 Comfort Advisors, because again, a Comfort Advisor closes at a higher rate, a higher average ticket. If you notice, we are now running, let's see here, we're actually running more leads, but we're closing less, a less percentage. And that's just the nature of the beast. A Comfort Advisor will close higher. Now you'll get a selling tech every now and then that can close high. But so let's put this back to Comfort Advisors. I want to show you one other tab. So now we have this totally set up. Let's just look and see. Let's go to day 1. So 749,000 is what we need to do. We need a minimum of 4.86 crews to install this. So if we don't have 5 crews, we are not going to put this revenue in. Or we're going to burn them out. We're going to be doubling up, installing 2 or 3 jobs a day per crew, you know. The other thing it says, look, you need 4.93 Comfort Advisors to do this revenue. And so if you look, we only have 4. So instantly I have a staffing problem. It doesn't mean I can't do this revenue with 4 Comfort Advisors. It just means that instead of being able to use this program like I'm supposed to, this program shows you how to manage from your strengths instead of being held captive. What that means is, in the event if you have a Comfort Advisor that has 2 or 3 bad days, he got into a fight with his wife, believe it or not, I'm going to show you how this program picks up on that. And then you are supposed to bench him, take him out of the game. Well, in the event if you're understaffed, so if you do not staff like this thing tells you to do, you will not be able to take that comfort advisor out of the game, and therefore you'll let his problems become your problems, and then your sales will plummet. So I'm going to show you that and how we manage the managing piece. So the entire company is set up. Nexstar Air is set up. So let's go ahead and go into the next tutorial, which is the managing tutorial.